What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a video about where the Pathfinder video games could go in the future. Right off the bat, I do mean video games, of course, and not the actual Pathfinder adventure paths, because that's pretty set in stone. They do their whole thing. They basically release one source book a month, and twice a year that becomes a full adventure path, which our two games, Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, are in fact based on. In the immediate future, we actually know the answer pretty well for Wrath of the Righteous. Hellcat is going to continue making the DLC for the game, which they've already laid out plans for 3 DLCs, one being an adventure about the citizens of Canabris during the attack on Canabris by the demons that opens up the game, the second being another roguelike similar to Beneath the Stolen Lands from Kingmaker, and then finally the last one is supposed to be some sort of planar adventure, which makes sense as we find ourselves in the Abyss, at least during the events of Wrath of the Righteous. Now, that's not the exact order those might release in, but that's the general outline for DLC to expect for Wrath of the Righteous. However, what's next? What's after that? Now, the easiest answer is, well, maybe another adventure path. While I would be surprised if Owlcat chooses to move on to some other type of game, I mean, they certainly could, mind you, as my understanding is that they are an independent studio that works under a license from Paizo, and they aren't directly owned by, and could therefore, if they wanted to, potentially just make another type of game. Given the popularity of the Pathfinder series, of video games that is, I would be surprised if that happened. However, I do have a couple of thoughts on where it might go within that universe. Now, the most obvious thing, maybe just another adventure path in general. However, there is a sort of reference to a couple of adventure paths actually in Wrath of the Righteous, which might not be a huge surprise, but there's a character you can meet actually from the first adventure path, or at least related to the first adventure path, I should say. And then that adventure path actually got 2 follow-ups that kind of continue in that story, and given how adventure paths are all kind of their own solo adventures, they could feasibly start with any of those 3, and that one character in Wrath of the Righteous, which I don't want to spoil too much here, by the way, might have just simply been a nod to their intent to do that. I think the much more interesting option would to potentially, instead, do a Starfinder game. So if you're unaware, Pathfinder has a sort of sister game called Starfinder. Starfinder is a futuristic sci-fi take on Pathfinder. It is quite literally set in the same world. It revolves around this big event called The Gap, in which the world of Golarion just straight up disappeared. And because of that, we see a lot of the same player races, that kind of stuff. You know, elves, dwarves, humans, but a lot of the more sci-fi technology stuff as well. Overall, Starfinder is a very interesting title. And as much as I love Pathfinder, I think it would be incredibly fresh and interesting to see what Owlcat might do with a Starfinder game. Now, Starfinder itself is meant to be compatible with a lot of the Pathfinder stuff mechanically, meaning that a lot of it is based on very similar systems, obviously with a more sci-fi take, of course, with Starfinder. However, on a systems and mechanics level, a lot of it is designed to be interchangeable. And me personally, I'm hoping for a Starfinder game just because they've done 2 Pathfinder games, and while I would certainly enjoy a third one personally, and if they announce one, I'll certainly be excited about it. However, I do want to mention that I think mixing it up a little and going the Starfinder route would be much more interesting, and I think draw in some curiosity, more so than doing a third Pathfinder game directly after Wrath of the Righteous. There you go, guys. There's my kind of 2 cents, thoughts, opinions. By all means, let me know your own theories down below. I think that would be fun to see. But beyond that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.